It was a quiet night on the edge of the human colony known as New Dawn, built on a faraway planet that circled two suns. The wind outside carried soft dust from the purple plains, and the sky glowed faintly blue with drifting auroras. Inside, a small metal shelter at the outskirts. A young engineer named Ethan lay half asleep. Listening to the low hum of his power generator, he had been working late that night, repairing signal beacons that helped guide human ships through the strange atmosphere. His tools still lay scattered on the table. He told himself he'd clean them in the morning, but for now, he just needed rest. As he turned over on his bed, something unusual happened. The generator outside flickered once, then went silent. All lights in the shelter dimmed. It wasn't the first time the power went out, but this time felt different. There was no spark, no sound of machinery failing. Just silence. A thick silence, heavy and cold. Ethan sighed. Ready to get up and check the cables, when he heard something that made him freeze. A soft, metallic hiss from the door. Someone was there. He reached for his flashlight. But before he could turn it on, the door slid open by itself. The cool night air rushed in. His heart began to pound. No human colony member would be out here at this hour. He lived nearly half a mile from the nearest post. Then, in the pale moonlight, a shadow slipped inside. It moved slowly, almost weightlessly, as if gliding. The shape was slender and tall. For a moment, Ethan thought it was a person in a dark suit. But when the light from the stars touched her face, he realized it was someone, not human. The being stood silently near his bed. Her skin shimmered faintly like silver blue glass, and her hair, if it could be called that, looked like threads of soft light flowing behind her. Her large eyes glowed faintly white, reflecting every movement in the room. Ethan didn't move. He didn't speak. Every part of him told him to run, but something about her stopped him. She didn't look like a threat. Her expression was calm, almost frightened. She seemed lost. "Who are you?" Ethan finally whispered. The figure tilted her head slightly, as if trying to understand his words. Then she took a slow step forward, and her bare feet made no sound on the metal floor. Ethan stepped back instinctively. His hand reached toward the wall for the emergency light switch. When he pressed it, a dim orange glow filled the room. The light revealed her clearly now, an alien woman. Wearing what looked like a torn layer of protective skin or fabric, cracked and glowing at the edges. She looked like she had escaped something dangerous. Her breathing was uneven, and her hands trembled slightly. Then she lifted one hand, touching her throat. It made a soft sound, a series of strange tones that seemed to vibrate through the air like music. Ethan didn't understand a word. But her voice wasn't threatening. It was weak, pleading. He pointed to himself. "Human. My name is Ethan," he said slowly. "You're hurt." She blinked, then nodded faintly. A faint cut ran along her shoulder, glowing with a blue light. It wasn't blood, not like human blood. It looked more like leaking energy. Ethan took a slow step forward, showing his hands to show he meant no harm. "Okay, don't be scared. Sit down." She hesitated, but then slowly lowered herself to the floor beside his bed. Her movements were graceful, careful, as if she was trained to move in low gravity. Ethan opened his first aid box. He didn't know if his supplies would work on alien biology, but he couldn't just watch her suffer. He spoke softly, explaining every move. "This is medicine. It heals. Helps pain." She tilted her head again, watching his hands with curiosity. When he applied a small patch of nanogel to her wound, she flinched, but didn't resist. The glow from the wound slowly faded, replaced by a faint shimmer of restored skin. Her lips parted. She made a soft sound, almost like a sigh of relief. Ethan smiled a little. "See? Better." The alien woman looked at him, then pointed at the glowing patch on her arm, and then at him. "Human." "Heal," she said carefully, her voice trembling with unfamiliar syllables. Ethan blinked. "You can speak?" She struggled, as if forming the next word was difficult. "I learn. Fast." Her voice had an odd echo, like she was imitating what she'd just heard from him. Shaping the sounds into meaning, Ethan nodded slowly. That's good. You're safe here. But deep down, he knew something wasn't right. If she was here, it meant she had come from somewhere, a ship, maybe, or an escape pod. But why here in his outpost, the farthest from the main colony? As he stood, the alien woman looked around the room, her eyes landing on the window that faced the horizon. Outside, faint blue lights shimmered in the distance, not stars, but moving lights, like drones or patrol ships. Her expression changed from calm to fear. She whispered something quickly in her own language, then turned to him and said one clear word, "Hide." Ethan didn't ask questions. He grabbed his jacket and moved toward the back of the shelter, signaling her to follow. They hid behind the power core housing, crouching in the shadows as the outside lights grew closer. A distant rumble echoed across the plains. A ship. Searching. Through the window, Ethan saw beams of blue light scanning the area. Whoever they were looking for her. The alien woman pressed a hand to her chest and whispered something, perhaps a prayer or signal. Then she turned to Ethan, eyes wide and desperate. "No tell," she whispered. "They kill." He didn't know who they were, but he believed her. For minutes, they stayed still, not breathing, as the searchlight swept across the shelter. One beam paused right on his door. Ethan's heart stopped. Then just as quickly, the light moved on. The hum of the engines faded, and silence returned. The alien woman exhaled, shaking slightly. Ethan stood slowly, watching her in the dim light. "Who are they?" he asked softly. She looked at him for a long time before answering. "Hunters." "I run from them," he frowned. "Hunters? You mean soldiers?" She hesitated. "No, worse." Ethan didn't know what to say. She looked terrified, but there was also a strange dignity in her. She wasn't weak, just wounded alone, and far from her world. Finally, she looked at him and said something that made his blood run cold. "They find me." "They find you too." Ethan realized what she meant. He was now part of her escape. Whatever danger she brought with her was now at his doorstep. He looked out at the dark horizon again, the blue lights fading into the distance. Somewhere out there, powerful beings were hunting her, and now they would come for anyone who helped her. He turned back to her. "Then we'd better not let them." The alien woman looked at him, uncertain. He reached for his old pulse rifle. Hanging by the wall, a weapon he hadn't used since training. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "You help me?" Ethan nodded. "You came to me? That means something." "I won't hand you over." Her expression softened. For the first time, she looked almost human, grateful, but still afraid. Then she whispered softly, "I am called Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated, committing it to memory as the night deepened and the generator hummed back to life. Ethan knew one thing. This was no random encounter. Whoever Lyra was, whatever she was running from, he was now caught in it. Outside, the sky flickered again, faint streaks of blue lightning far in the distance. The storm was coming, not just a weather storm, but something far larger. And as Lyra sat quietly by the dim light, her eyes never leaving the window, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Morning came slow over the plains of new dawn. The two suns rose together, washing the horizon in soft gold and violet light. Ethan stood by the small window of his shelter, staring out toward the empty landscape. The wind pushed waves of dust across the flat ground, hiding the marks left by the search ships last night behind him. The alien woman Lyra sat quietly near the power core. Her hands were clasped together, her expression distant. The soft blue light in her veins pulsed slowly now, as if the healing patch had stabilized her. Ethan had spent most of the night watching her. He still didn't know why she had come, or what she was running from. But when he remembered the fear in her eyes as the hunters passed overhead, he knew one thing. She was in real danger. And now, so was he. He turned to her and spoke softly. "They'll come back. You know that, right?" Lyra lifted her gaze, her strange white eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Yes," she said simply. Her voice was steadier now, clearer. "They always come back." Ethan frowned. Who are they? You said hunters? What does that mean? Lyra hesitated. She stood, walking slowly toward him. Her movements were calm but heavy, as if each step carried memories she wished to forget. Hunters, she said finally, belong to the Dominion. The Dominion? She nodded. A great power. Many worlds obey them. My people once did too. Ethan felt a chill. He had heard whispers in the colony about something like that. Galactic empire spreading far beyond the trade routes humans knew. But the thought of one of its soldiers standing in his home felt unreal. Why are they after you? He asked. Lyra looked down. Because I refused. Refused what? To obey. Her tone was flat, but the way her hands trembled said more than words. Ethan crossed his arms. So they're after you because you disobeyed their orders? Yes, I saw what they did to my people. They use us like tools, like parts of machines. I wanted to stop it. They called it treason. Ethan stayed silent. He could see pain behind her calm face, a pain that came from losing everything. Lyra looked at him again. They will track me by energy. The patch you use to heal me, it hides me for a time, but not forever. Ethan sighed. Then we need to move. Lyra tilted her head. You would leave your home? He looked around the small metal room, his tools, his maps, his few books, his half-broken coffee machine. It wasn't much of a home, just a place to work and sleep. He shrugged. It's just walls and wires. You're alive, and I don't plan to let anyone take you. Lyra studied him for a moment, then said quietly, Humans are strange. He smiled faintly. You're not the first to say that. They spent the next hour preparing. Ethan packed energy cells, food, and his old communication device. Lyra helped him seal off the generator's energy trail, using a small crystal from her armor that emitted static interference. Her skill with alien tech amazed him. She seemed to understand machines faster than any engineer he knew. While she worked, he noticed her hands were steady again. She moved with focus, like a soldier or a scientist. When they stepped outside, the wind carried faint static, a sign that the hunters were already scanning again. The sky looked peaceful, but Ethan knew danger floated unseen above. They moved across the plains, heading toward the cliffs near the North Valley. There were old tunnels there from the colony's early mining days. Few people went near them now. It would be a good hiding place. As they walked, Ethan asked, How far did you come from? Lyra looked up at the twin suns. Farther than you can imagine. My home world is gone now? Gone? She nodded. The Dominion burned it, after we rebelled. Only a few escaped. I was one. Ethan didn't speak for a long time after that. He didn't know how to comfort someone who had lost an entire world. After hours of walking, they reached the cliffs, jagged rocks rising from the desert, forming natural caves. Ethan led her inside one of the old mining tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling as they moved deeper. It's safe here, he said. No scanners can reach through this much stone. Lyra touched the wall and closed her eyes. Yes, this place hides energy well. They set up a small camp. Ethan powered his portable heater, and Lyra sat near it, staring into the glow as if lost in thought. After a long silence, Ethan asked, Lyra, why did you come to a human colony? You could have gone anywhere. She didn't look up. I did not choose. My ship was damaged. I crashed. He frowned. So you didn't mean to find me? She turned toward him then, her eyes calm but firm. No, but I am. Grateful that I did. There was a quiet moment between them. Outside, the wind howled faintly through the tunnel mouth, echoing like distant whispers. Then suddenly a sharp beep came from Ethan's communicator. He froze. That's impossible. I turned off all channels. Lyra stood instantly, her senses alert. Show me. Ethan handed her the small device. She placed her hand over it, and faint blue symbols flickered in the air above the screen, a projection of energy readings. Her face darkened. They found signal trace. They follow. Ethan clenched his fists. How long do we have? Not long. They move fast. He thought quickly. Can we jam the signal? Lyra nodded and pulled a small disc from the strap on her arm. I can block for a short time, but they will still know general area. Ethan helped her place the disc near the tunnel entrance. As it activated, a faint hum filled the air, a protective field. Now what? He asked. Lyra looked toward the surface. We fight or we run. Ethan's heart pounded. Fight. You mean they will not stop? She said quietly. And if they find me, they will destroy everything around me, including you. He swallowed hard. Then running sounds better. She gave a small, almost sad smile. It never is. Before he could reply, the ground trembled. A deep rumble echoed through the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan grabbed his pack. They're already here. Lyra turned toward the entrance, her eyes glowing brighter now. Hide behind rock. Stay quiet. Ethan hesitated. What about you? I will draw them away. He grabbed her wrist. No, you're not going alone. She looked at his hand, surprised. You cannot fight them, human. He shook his head. Maybe not. But I'm not letting you face them alone either. For a moment, their eyes met. Then she nodded once. Very well. The tunnel entrance exploded in a flash of blue light. Rocks scattered, smoke filled the air, and a dark shape appeared, tall, armored figures, carrying weapons that glowed like liquid fire. Ethan ducked behind a boulder. Lyra stood her ground. Her silver-blue skin shone like a shield in the light of their weapons. The lead hunter spoke in a metallic voice. Subject Lyra. By order of the Dominion Council, you are to surrender immediately. Lyra raised her hand, her voice calm but firm. Tell your masters I will never return. Then you will die. The hunters opened fire. Streams of plasma lit the tunnel. Lyra moved faster than human sight, deflecting shots with a wave of her arm. Energy rippled around her like a shield. The walls shook from the force. Ethan took cover, trying to think. He spotted an old mining power conduit near the ceiling, still connected to unstable energy cells. If he could overload it, maybe he could bring the tunnel down on the hunters. He crawled toward it, while Lyra fought. The noise was deafening, each blast echoing like thunder. Lyra's shield flickered. She was weakening. Ethan reached the conduit and yanked open the panel. Sparks flew. He took a deep breath and rerouted the current manually. Lyra, he shouted, get down. She understood instantly. She dropped to the floor and covered her head as Ethan slammed the final switch. A blinding flash filled the tunnel. The old conduit exploded, shaking the ground. Rocks collapsed from above, sealing the entrance with a roar. When the dust settled, everything went silent. Ethan coughed, waving away smoke. Lyra, you okay? From the shadows, her glowing eyes appeared. Yes, you saved us. He helped her up. The entrance was now buried under tons of rock. The hunters were gone for now, but Lyra's face was still tense. They will not stop. They will send more. Ethan leaned against the wall, exhausted. Then we keep moving. There's an old cum tower in the ridge. We can reach it before night. Maybe send a message to the colony. Lyra nodded slowly. They will not believe you. Maybe not, he said, but I'll try. As they began to move deeper into the tunnels, Ethan noticed Lyra glancing at him quietly. Finally, she said softly, you risked your life for me, human. Why? Ethan looked at her and gave a small, tired smile. Because someone has to stand up to bullies even if they come from the stars. For the first time, Lyra smiled, faint, uncertain, but real. They walked in silence for a while, guided by the soft blue glow from her hands. Somewhere far behind them, the Dominion hunters were regrouping, digging through the rubble. But for now, Ethan and Lyra had a head start, and as they climbed through the dark tunnels, he began to realize something. This wasn't just about saving her anymore. Whatever the Dominion was, whatever power they held, if they destroyed her world and now chased her across galaxies, they could come for Earth next. And Ethan silently promised himself one thing. He wouldn't let that happen. Outside, the two suns slowly began to sink, and far above the plains, Invisible ships streaked through the clouds, scanning for a runaway and the human who dared to help her. The war she brought with her was only beginning. The ridge above the tunnels was quiet, but Ethan and Lyra knew it was only temporary. They moved cautiously, their footsteps light against the rocky terrain. The cum tower was not far now, a rusted, abandoned structure that once linked the outer colonies. If they could restore it, they might alert New Dawn and bring help. Ethan looked at Lyra as she walked beside him. Her silver-blue skin seemed to shimmer in the fading sunlight, and the soft glow of her veins pulsed faster than usual. She was tense but focused, ready for whatever came next. "They'll be back soon," Ethan said softly. Lyra nodded. "I feel it. Their energy traces are near. They will attack before we reach the tower." He clenched his fists. "Then we fight." The sky darkened slightly as a distant hum grew louder, the Dominion ships returning. Ethan counted 3, moving fast across the plains. Their weapons glowed like streaks of fire. Lyra stopped and crouched low. "We cannot let them reach the ridge. If they do, Earth might be exposed." Ethan followed her gaze. The cum tower loomed ahead, partially destroyed but still intact. "Then we hold them here," he said. She looked at him. "You will survive?" He smiled faintly. "I plan to." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Then we go." They sprinted toward the tower, moving through the rocky terrain with agility. Ethan kept his pulse rifle ready, scanning for any signs of the hunters. Lyra moved beside him, her hands glowing faintly as she prepared energy barriers to deflect incoming attacks. The first ship hovered above the ridge, scanning the ground with blue beams. Ethan raised his rifle, firing a few warning shots. The blasts hit the rocky surface, throwing sparks into the air. The ship adjusted and unleashed plasma bolts toward them. Lyra raised her hands, forming a shimmering shield that absorbed the impact. Sparks danced across her glowing skin as the plasma collided with her energy. She gritted her teeth. "They are stronger than I expected." Ethan ducked behind a boulder, reloading his rifle. "Then we need a plan." Lyra's eyes scanned the tower. "The cum array is powered by a central core. If we restore it, I can broadcast a signal across the colony. They might send reinforcements." Ethan nodded. "Then that's our goal." We reached the tower. They sprinted the final stretch. Plasma bolts streaked past them, but Lyra's shields blocked most of the attacks. Ethan fired at exposed drones circling the tower, each hit causing sparks and smoke. When they reached the base, Ethan and Lyra moved quickly. The tower's access panel was open, exposing a tangle of wires and damaged circuits. Ethan knelt down, inspecting the connections. "I think I can get this working," he said, "but I'll need you to cover me." Lyra nodded, stepping outside the base and raising her hands. Energy waves rippled from her palms, forming a dome around the tower. Incoming plasma bolts bounced harmlessly off the barrier. Ethan worked fast, connecting circuits and rerouting power. Sparks flew and smoke rose, but slowly the tower hummed to life. A faint blue light traveled up the antennae. "It's working," Ethan said, wiping sweat from his brow. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Good. Send the signal now." Ethan activated the cum system. A pulsing signal shot across the skies, reaching every colony network on New Dawn. Far away, humans monitored the frequencies. Messages were received, distress signals from the ridge. Above them, the Dominion ships reacted immediately. 2 of them began descending, weapons blazing. Ethan cursed. "They won't wait for reinforcements." Lyra turned to him. "Then we fight together." Ethan took a deep breath. "Let's do it." The first ship fired a plasma volley. Lyra raised her shield, absorbing the full impact. Sparks flew, and the ground shook. Ethan fired at the ship's weak points, hitting engines and energy nodes. Each shot slowed the ship's movements. Lyra moved faster now, weaving between attacks. Her hands glowed like molten metal, throwing arcs of energy that tore through enemy drones. Her strength amazed Ethan. She was more than a fighter. She was a force of nature. One of the Dominion soldiers descended to the ridge, landing near the tower. Ethan raised his rifle and fired, hitting the armored figure squarely in the chest. It staggered, but its armor held. Lyra stepped forward, her voice firm. Leave now. You will not take me. The soldier activated a blade that hummed with energy. Ethan backed up slightly. Lyra's eyes glowed white. She moved like lightning, energy arcs forming around her. The soldier attacked, but she blocked effortlessly, sending a shock wave that threw him back several meters. Ethan took advantage of the moment, firing at the remaining drones. One after another, sparks erupted as machines fell to the ground. Above, the last Dominion ship tried to adjust its position. Lyra raised her arms, focusing energy toward the sky. A pulse shot upward, hitting the ship's engines. The vessel shuddered and crashed into the plains far below, sending dust and fire into the air. Ethan gasped. You did it. Lyra smiled faintly, though exhaustion showed on her face. Not done yet. Others will come. But for now, we have time. Ethan checked the tower. The signal was strong, stable. Reinforcements from New Dawn would arrive soon. He looked at Lyra. You saved yourself, but also everyone else. If the Dominion comes here, humans will be ready. She nodded. Yes, your species fights differently. You think, adapt, survive. I understand now why humans are feared across the galaxy. Ethan smiled faintly. Guess I'm glad we proved it. Minutes passed. The ridge was quiet. The wind carried the scent of scorched earth and the faint glow of fading energy arcs. Ethan and Lyra stood together, exhausted but alive. Then, a faint rumble in the distance caught their attention. Reinforcements' human ships appeared, hovering above the plains, weapons ready. Blue light scanned the area. Ethan raised his hand. We did it. You're safe now. Lyra's expression softened. Safe, for now. But the Dominion will remember this. Ethan nodded. Then we make sure they never forget that humans can stand together. That we protect those who cannot protect themselves. She looked at him, eyes wide. You risked everything for me, human. Why? Ethan shrugged. Because someone had to. Because if humans wait for heroes, nothing changes. Sometimes. You have to be the one to stand up. Lyra's glowing eyes reflected admiration and gratitude. For the first time, she seemed at ease, a flicker of peace crossing her face. The human ships landed, and soldiers poured out, securing the ridge. Ethan explained everything: the hunters, the Dominion, Lyra, the signal, and the crash. The humans listened, impressed and cautious. One of the commanders approached. We'll evacuate her. She's a valuable witness, an ally. Lyra nodded. Thank you. Ethan stepped aside, watching as she was escorted to the ships. For a moment, he felt a pang of sadness. Their journey together had been brief, but intense. Then she turned to him, her glowing hand raised in farewell. You are remarkable, human. Remember this. Not all who flee are weak. Some fight silently, and you have fought for them. Ethan smiled faintly. I won't forget. The ships lifted off, disappearing into the horizon. Ethan stood on the ridge, watching the twin suns set, painting the sky in gold and violet. He knew the galaxy was vast, filled with dangers and wonders, but he also knew one thing: humans could survive, adapt, and protect what mattered most, even against an empire like the Dominion. And as the wind swept across the plains of New Dawn, Ethan felt a quiet pride. He had faced something far beyond his world, an alien hunter, a collapsing empire, and yet he had endured. He had stood up, and he had helped someone in need. Lyra's presence lingered in his mind, a reminder of courage, survival, and trust. The galaxy was dangerous, yes, but humans, he realized, could be brighter than any star, and somewhere out there, beyond the horizon, he knew Lyra would survive, carry the story of her people, and remember the human who risked everything to protect her. Ethan turned back toward his small shelter, ready to continue his work. The plains were silent again. For now, but in his heart, he knew this was only the beginning of humanity's reach into the stars. And he was ready for whatever came next.